All right, and now to the business of the day. Would our Chair of the Day, past President Reg Smith, please come to the podium to take over the meeting?
Thanks very much, President Catherine. Members will, those who are diligent enough to read the bulletin will have read in our club bulletin this week the rich tradition of the that it's embodied in 60 successive presentations of Rotary Club of Melbourne's Vocational Service Award in recognition of their distinguished vocational service. And I have to tell you, this year is absolutely no exception. 2020 in the 2024-25 awardee is, as I think everyone knows, Simone Carson AM, who's the founder and deputy chair of Second Bite. And I've got a whole lot of stuff here about Simone's early career. I think she's going to get through that for you, so I won't repeat it. And Robert Fisher, of course, has done a good job for us as well in introducing Simone. But over 15 years, I think it's true to say Simone witnessed firsthand the struggles of families who on top of medical challenges, had faced difficulties accessing fresh and nutritious food. And this experience has highlighted for her the critical link between the food we eat and our good health, which in turn led she and Ian to do something about it. And that's how Second Bite was formed back in 2005. The good thing is, from my viewpoint, that it's very easy for a founder to get right up there in the clouds of governance and notoriety. But in Simone's case, and Ian's in particular, we still see them at Paran and have the joy of serving alongside them. And that, I think, is a very important part of why we picked out Simone as the winner this year. The other thing I should say, though, is that Second Bite has had an astonishing growth over the last nearly 20 years, and most recently joined with Fair Share. So they're now not only rescuing food, but they're also delivering cooked and prepared meals, a very complete value proposition, which makes them much more powerful. So I'm going to cut out most of the things I'd written down to say and simply say that Simone's outstanding contribution over 20 years to food rescue and fresh food access for all, together with her exemplary service as a hands-on volunteer, is recognised by this award as an exemplar of Rotary's ideal of service above self. And I'm now going to ask President Catherine to return to the podium to present the frame citation and Vocational Service Award plaque, and then we'll hear some words from Simone. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Reg. Simone, I'm delighted to present you this plaque and frame citation and to congratulate you on joining a distinguished body of people, both men and women, who have been previous recipients of the award. Both hands totally full now. Simone, congratulations. We'd now invite you to address the meeting, and we'll do some photographs at the end. Thank you, Simone. Congratulations. I will.
Thanks, Reg. So thank you, Reg, Chairman. Bob Glindeman, previous past president, MC and friend. Current President, Catherine Baxter, and a sincere thank you to Rotary Melbourne for this generous award. To be nominated and to receive the 2024 Rotary Melbourne Vocational Service Award is an enormous honour. I have met some of the previous recipients of this award: Sandro, Professor Sharon Lewis, Dr. Bronwyn King, Susan Barton, Professor Jeffrey Ronfield, and I'm told Brian Littman, Dr. Catherine Cook, Morty Palmer, Dr. Catherine Morty Palmer, Margaret Leggett, and Bruce Parker are also here today. I've always admired and respected their work and commitment to the health and well-being of all Australians. It's very humbling to be acknowledged alongside such an incredible group whose impact has been quite remarkable. Before I share a little bit about Second Bite and its mission over the last 20 years, it's important that I acknowledge two things. Firstly, food rescue and distribution is in part of a very complex sector. Secondly, and it's quite important, to do what we do and to have grown has only been possible because of strong partnerships, support, and great teams of people. We say at Second Bite that it's always been about people. The board, the leadership team, the staff, the incredible volunteers, the relationships that we have forged with our donors, and importantly, with the people we serve in our community. This award is recognition of the collective effort of many people working together to create positive change. Ian and I are co-founders, but we have always understood this and we celebrate it whenever we can. So 2024, if everyone can hear me, 2.5 million tonnes of food is wasted by Australian households, and 7.6 million tonnes is lost across the food system around our country. Most of that food is edible. At the same time, 30% of Australians are making tough decisions about buying food, buying their medication, putting petrol in their car, paying their bills. Every week, we distribute around about 68,000 kilograms of food that would have ended up in landfill, and we deliver it for free nationally. Let's go back to 2005 when we started, almost 20 years ago. The sector was a very different place, and Australia was a very different place. Ian and I were appalled by the amount of food going to waste, while so many in our community were going hungry without the means of putting food on their table. Now, we grew up in families who disliked waste. Ian was told, eat your food. There are children in Africa going hungry. And I had a grandmother who grew up on a farm and lived through a war. She never wasted any food. Having grown up on a farm, she taught me the value of connecting people, family, and friends through food. Food was never wasted. She loved to cook and she made everything from scratch. Nothing was ever store-bought. Food was about nourishment, both physically and emotionally. At the same time we started, I was still working at the Children's Hospital, and I was deeply moved by the number of children and their families who were very vulnerable. I was regularly exposed to just how many Australians face difficult choices about how much and how often they would eat. In 2005, by then, I had had a good understanding that nutrition has a significant impact on the physical and mental health of our nation. So in those early days of Second Bite, Ian and I had one simple idea: to do something about the enormous amount of food waste. We were shocked by how much nutritious fresh food was being discarded, while at the same time we knew that many people in our community were struggling to get enough to eat. So in Melbourne, we began to collect that surplus food, just 600 kilograms in that first year, and we delivered it to the local charity. Started with a few friends and family, a couple of cars. The modest operation has grown into Second Bite, and as you know, it's a national food relief charity that each year distributes about 25 million kilograms of food, about 50 million meals for free right across the country. The community partners who receive the food have food programs. Most use food as a way of providing connection, of providing a lot more than just calories. They understand that the sharing of a meal can provide a moment of joy, of belonging, a sense that somebody cares. We supply the food for free so that the charity can use the money to employ a nurse or a social worker or a support person who checks in on where that client will sleep that night, if they're taking their medication. Do they need something as simple as having a shower and some clean clothes? One of the real success stories of Second Bite is that it allows locals living in their own communities to help their neighbours. It's a local community wanting to lend a hand to those who need it that have the greatest impact because they know where, when, and who needs the food. Now, governments and businesses in times of need have a major role to play in recovery and resilience, but we've seen time and time again that when help is needed most, it's the community who rallies as the first responders. From the beginning, we believe that community is at the heart of everything. Rotary's motto of service above self resonates deeply with me because it reflects the values that inspired Second Bite. The idea that each of us have something valuable to offer our community, whether it's time, skills, or resources. It's about putting others first. Rotary Melbourne became a very important part of the Second Bite story, and it remains so today. In 2007, when Second Bite was struggling to find volunteers and meet growing needs, Bob Glindeman joined the Second Bite board. Bob knew the power of Rotary and volunteering, and he asked Rotary Melbourne members and their families to take over the collections of food from the Paran market. Robert's touched on this, but I'll just say at the initial request, I think 17 members joined the roster, and then some 35 members volunteered. The 4 members each weekend would collect the donations and transport it to Sacred Heart Mission. The collection soon outgrew the cars, and the Second Bite van was pressed into service. Rotary empowered Second Bite to transform from a couple of families to leverage its model and to act as a more sophisticated agency, and we dramatically grew, using Rotary at the South Melbourne market, Vic market, gaining donations of money and other assistance. In many ways, we are actually in the weeds of our commitment to the Paran market, and Rotary allowed us to transform and to think beyond our initial work. That support continues today, and most Sundays at the close of trade down at Paran, Rotarians will be seen at the market. They volunteer their time so that fresh food doesn't end up in landfill. They make sure it's delivered to one of our 1,000 charity partners, and in this case to the Salvation Army situated in Burke Street just down the road. I'd personally like to thank Trevor Nink, Robert Fisher, Sue and Reg Smith, Jan Moffat, Rosemary Nixon and Manuel Philippe for your continuous support. Otherwise, I'd be there on my own most weekends. Melbourne Rotary over the years has helped us realise the potential for what we're doing and pushed us to think bigger, very much Bob's role on the board in those early days, to sort of think beyond our reach. You weren't just helping us with food donations, you were showing us that collaboration and community are the keys to making this work on a much bigger scale. You've always understood our dual mission to end hunger and to end food waste. And Second Bite has been the recipient of the annual, or one of the recipients of the annual Environmental and Sustainability Luncheon. And we thank you all for that. An incredible partner of Second Bite from the Rotary community from the beginning has been Bob Glindeman. And I just personally have to thank you, Bob, for many, many years of friendship and support. And you've shared quite openly and honestly your professional advice at times and your skills and your contact list. Bob's very much a roll up your sleeves and get on with it person, and we've benefited from that. So in addition, Rotary has inspired us in ways that extend beyond food rescue. It's instilled in us the belief that by working together, we can move closer to solving society's most pressing challenges, whether it's food insecurity, food waste, or health outcomes. Your commitment to ethical leadership, to integrity, and service above self is something we aspire to every day at Second Bite. Now, as we all know, challenges are never far away. The rising cost of living, housing instability, and the increasing number of people needing food relief means that the demand for our services actually continues to grow. Second Bite and our partner charities have seen a 40% increase in demand for food relief over the last year. Meanwhile, Australians are facing significant pressures, with research showing that as many as 30% have had to skip at least one meal to save money. But this challenge also drives us. As we look ahead, we're excited about the merger with Fair Share. It's a collaboration that will only amplify our ability to meet the growing need. It came about after many years of collaboration at a board and operational level, including long-standing commitment of Second Bite to supply ingredients with which Fair Share now cooks food in one of their kitchens, and we distribute it through our network. We came together as a combined entity in July this year. By combining our strengths, we can redistribute both fresh produce and prepared meals for more people right around the country. For people who don't know how to cook or live alone or are just struggling, Fair Share meals provide so much joy to their lives. We believe no Australian should have to go hungry, and with this merger, we're a step closer to realising this vision. What has been very pleasing through this process, through this merger, is that our two major food and financial donors, being Coles and Woolworths, have been so supportive. Coles have supported Second Bite for over 11 years now. Woolworths have been long-time supporters of Fair Share. We now have trucks visiting both Coles and Woolworths supermarkets on the same run, so we're working across both organisations. As a combined organisation, we can now also source more food. We're working hard not only with Coles and Woolworths, but with farmers, food manufacturers and growers to procure more food for people. We can optimise whether we distribute the food as cooked Fair Share meals or as fresh fruit and vegetables under the Second Bite banner. So in preparation for today, I had a quick glance at my 2020 Churchill Fellowship report, and I'd like to read you a short extract from my report, which speaks to the importance of food. It's not only for providing fuel and good health. You may have heard some of what I'm going to read. It's a quote from Michael Rotwowski, who's the Senior Director of the World Bank. He says, and I put it in my report, food is not simply a collection of nutrients. It's an integral part of us. In our economy, in our culture, our history, our cognitive capacity and our spirituality. For instance, the word food appears more than 100 times in the holy book of Buddhism, Christianity, Islam and Judaism. In some countries, commodities like rice and bread are considered the barometer of the economy, and spikes in food prices have ignited revolutions, riots and protests. Food is a key priority among people living in poverty, often absorbing most of their financial, mental and emotional resources. Uncertainty about where the next meal is coming from generates profound stress. And it's being the net result on focusing on the here and now rather than being able to plan. Unfortunately, there are hundreds and thousands of millions actually of people across the planet who are living in that situation, including in our own country. So Second Bite, Fair Share believe that we should work really hard to make sure that Australians, all Australians, have a regular access to fresh, nutritious food, no matter what, where they live and no matter what their circumstances. So in closing, I'd just like to share my deepest thanks to the Rotary Club of Melbourne for this wonderful recognition, but most importantly, for everything that you do to support our community. Rotary was there for us in 2006, and you remain by our side in 2024. I share this award with the Second Bite team, our volunteers, our charity partners, whose dedication and tireless work make our purpose possible every single day. I also want to thank my family, especially Ian, without whose support and vision Second Bite would not exist. I'm so proud that we've been able to achieve this together, and I look forward to continuing our work together with all of you. We hope that food security is within reach for food security rather than insecurity is within reach for every Australian. Margaret Mead said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world." In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. Every single one of us in this room today can be a powerful agent for change. And you don't need to be in a position of power or influence to be that agent. Small acts from individuals can and do change the world, and kindness is very important. I just want to say thank you to everyone today.
Thank you so much, Simone. That was a great address, a well-deserved award. In closing, I'd like to thank all of our visitors and guests. It's amazing. We've got 8 former winners, all of whom I've met previously, and I hope you agree with me that we're keeping the standards high. Okay. I'd also like to thank Bob Glindeman and Robert Fisher for their emceeing and reflection, and of course the lunch setup team, which always does it behind the scenes, but without them it wouldn't happen. A reminder that next week's lunch is right here at number 35. Our guest speaker is Dennis Shaw, a trustee of the Rotary Foundation. And we hope you can join us and invite a friend to hear from a distinguished Rotarian leader.